Hello YouTube, this is Ben Gessel. This is my sixth video on YouTube. I thought for this video I would talk a little bit more about just my daily diet, and you guys can critique me, of course, all kind of stuff. Before we get into all this stuff here, um, um, I do try to be open to a lot of things, a lot of suggestions, a lot of things like that. I have found, in general, what works for me though a little better than. Uh, there's some general things that just work well, I think, with me better than other things. But more on that in a little bit. So basically, starting out with what oftentimes a lot of folks consider to be less healthy foods. Um, well, again, before I get into all this stuff, it is true. If I'm really busy, or if I'm really hungry, or if I hadn't had a lot to eat, there are times more than I'd like when I would stop in at a fast food place. I'm trying to limit that again, but it's kind of something I try not to do very often. And I tend to get, well, not too many things, but all right. So that's generally something I don't do all that much. So let's see. What I tend to get more as far as meat goes, I do know about the grass-fed kind of stuff, and I found grass-fed meat more steaks. They're a little pricier, but steaks tend to turn out better if they're grass-fed than ground beef. Especially ground beef buffalo gets really dry and really tasteless very easily. So even if you put butter and oil on that stuff, it's just, yeah. So I try to go with a decent steak. It doesn't have to be a very nice steak, but steaks, either bison or beef or something like that, or lamb, but if it's grass fed. And I don't eat that stuff all the time. Just, a few times a week. Sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. It varies a little bit. So Whole Foods has something where they have like different grades for their meat. I'll get a grade 4 steak. They have some great little smaller steaks that are pretty economical, fairly economical. So I'll get to those if I'm there, but I haven't really been to Whole Foods that much recently. But so I also, just as a general kind of preference, my favorite cuts of beef, and I imagine this applies somewhat with bison as well. But so more with beef though, tri-tip, ribeye, T-bone, chuck are my top four. There's some other ones that I think are great too, but those are the top four. And tri-tip and ribeye, T-bone, and chuck steak. I really like chuck, ribeye, and tri-tip though. They're probably my top three even. It's just what I'm more comfortable with. I'll definitely have a New York porterhouse steak, but they're ribeye, they're pricier. But I think if you going for a splurge, you might as well just go with ribeye. Really. Sirloins, I don't really get as much. They're just not as flavorful, in my opinion. And I definitely don't buy round steaks very much because I just am too lazy to try to figure out how you make them very well. I don't know. And I know you can make them well, but they just get dried out really easily. And I just don't want to deal with anything with round in it very much. And those eye round steaks, what happens is they just puff out and the bone, comes up to the middle. They're just kind of a mess. But they're cheap, so. But yeah, anything with round is just going to dry out really easily. I do eat bacon, but just not very much of it. And if I do ever have it, generally speaking, we're talking about the stuff that doesn't have sodium nitrite. That stuff's just not good. So, yeah, I'll have bacon here and there, the real stuff. No, I don't really buy turkey bacon, that kind of stuff. Lamb is something else I'll get on occasion here and there. I wish I could find mutton. I can't find mutton anywhere. I remember in New Mexico they had mutton I was there on my church mission there a while back. Um, but yeah, lamb is fine for a little bit of variety. Um, Also, I definitely, if I get lamb, I generally prefer it to be something that, well, Trader Joe's has really good lamb, in my opinion. It's a little pricier, but the lamb they have in New Zealand is great. Um, I don't like at least the lamb they have at Safeway so much. It's just very bony. QFC is somewhere in the middle. It's a little better, but I don't buy smoked meats or cold cuts. On occasion, though, I will buy bratwurst and Braunschweiger chicken sausage. Chicken sausage is more at Trader Joe's, but I don't buy the breakfast sausages in the frozen section. That's no. So, but yeah, bratwurst, fresh, bratwurst is great here and there with mustard, that sort of thing. Pork ribs are also nice here on occasion, but I don't buy pork that much, um, really. But I like pork. Actually, Albertsons had some really good pork ribs, and that sort of thing. And QFC as well got good pork ribs. Let's see. I don't buy ham ever. I'll eat ham. I just don't buy it. And I'll buy corned beef rarely. And so also I'm quite fond of duck. But I like, there's again, Ranch 99, this is the store up here. The roasted duck that's the best stuff. I mean, really. So Chinese duck or Peking duck, I guess it's great stuff. Any kind of Chinese duck stuff I love. It's actually my favorite thing to order at a Chinese restaurant. Pretty much is duck. Duck confit I've had before. That's great. That's actually very good too. I just don't have French food very often at all. It's duck is like a something that's just occasional, like just a nice thing, but I don't have it very often at all, of course. And actually, I've never had goose. I'm curious about goose still. But duck is like a ribeye steak. It's like, yeah, just here and there, rarely. Chicken is, of course, one of my staples, and I'll get generally organic, skinless, dark meat. Um, and I don't eat turkey really that often, but if I do, I'll have it a bit. Turkey is, yeah, it's here and there. Turkey's fine. Eggs are also kind of something where I'll get it one week and I'll skip a week or two and I'll get it again a little while later. I'm not really as crazy about eggs, but they are handy if you boil them. They can be handy in a pinch. Seafood. I'm quite fond of salmon and shrimp as well. So I'll get those a little more often. All other kinds of fish, yeah, it's kind of just here and there, whenever, you know. Canned tuna is something where I used to get it when I was in college a bit. I'm gonna get more into it, I think, now. If it's decent quality tuna, same thing with clams. I'm not really crazy about oysters, not as much. I haven't really tried mussels very much. But yeah, tuna and clams. I used to be crazy about mackerel and sardines. And I'll get them here and there on occasion, but really fishy stuff, not as often as. Basically salmon and shrimp are my favorite too, and wild caught salmon. I also like sushi, so I'm quite fond of the raw sushi grade salmon. Definitely, that stuff is great. Also, when they put avocado in there, cooked shrimp and crab. Crab cakes are something where it's like duck. They're a little pricey, but I love crab cakes. I love crab cakes. But and so I like also the shrimp, the sushi that has spicy mayo, along with some of those other little sauces they use. But yeah, sushi's kind of one of those indulgent foods like duck and ribeye. It's something that I don't get very often, and I hate sushi with cream cheese. I think that cream cheese does not belong in sushi. I'd rather they cut out the avocado and just stuck with traditional Japanese food in sushi. But if you're gonna add anything from other countries, at least include avocado. I think avocado goes very well in sushi, but cream cheese does not belong in sushi. I hate that stuff in sushi. I don't consume dairy, as you could probably guess, with that cream cheese thing. I don't. I don't buy cow's milk. I don't buy yogurt. I don't buy cheese. I don't buy butter. None of those things. But I do buy milk substitutes like chocolate almond milk, or almond milk, rice milk, cashew milk, banana milk, coconut milk. Any of those things are great, especially if they have chocolate on them. But since I don't eat cereal, I tend to get more of the chocolate variety of non-dairy milk. I also buy ice cream bars on occasion, but more just in the summer and not that often. So dairy is not something I eat or consume. And if I do, it just has to do only with the casein type of protein in dairy. That it's just kind of this weird things. But so yeah, I'll get chocolate on occasion. Same thing with licorice. Dark chocolate a bit more often, a little bit here and there. But candy, of course, is just not really an option. Hardly ever, except here and there. I like hot cocoa in the winter, and herbal tea not as much, but it's healthy stuff. I drink water all the time, especially in the summer. I'll drink water all the time. 100% fruit juices are something that I used to drink a lot of, and less so these days. But I'm quite fond of grape and cherry and orange. Berry juices. I used to drink a lot of orange juice. A lot of orange juice. Not as much these days again. I really try to watch that stuff. So, with other stuff that eat on occasion, there's a bunch of, so with other, getting into plant foods here, I don't tend to buy grains. It's just, there's just no need, really, in my diet for them. We'll see in the future if I want to get that more, but on occasion I might get, I don't know, some kind of bread, but it's not something I buy hardly ever. So really, or brillo pasta, brown rice, yeah, but not so much these days. So not really so much grains either. Starchy veggies like potatoes, not really either, or sweet potatoes, they're healthier, but I don't get those very much either. Beans I'm trying to eat more of, especially lentils. Whole Foods has some great frozen beans. So I check out the frozen beans, and the Whole Foods usually has frozen beans in their vegetable area. So I check out those guys. And nuts I used to eat a lot of. Trying to get back into it soon. Same thing with seeds. Very fond of cashews, almonds, walnuts, all that kind of stuff. Peanuts as well. I think peanuts, like corn, if it's organic corn, I think those things are a lot healthier than many people realize. It's just that they're kind of compared with, corn's compared with quinoa, and peanuts are compared with almonds or walnuts. And, it's still, corn and peanuts are still healthy for you. Just, anyway. So, so I'll eat peanuts, just not all the time. And I know Brazil nuts and those kinds of things are really healthy for you, but they're powerful. they are pungent. Well, they have a lot of minerals, but I'm not as crazy about them. And pistachios are great. Hazelnuts I'll only buy at farmers markets or if they're really fresh. I don't like to buy bulk. I don't like hazelnuts that are found in bulk food sections. They lose too much of the original flavor. So I'm kind of picky about hazelnuts. Beans, sure. I just don't eat a lot of them. There's just a lot of time, a little bit of hassle to make sometimes. Avocados I will eat more. I've gotten a little better at how to gauge if they're ready to eat. So I'll get avocados. Large avocados generally. And I like the ones at QFC and Whole Foods, probably a few other places as well. Not too crazy, but the avocados at Trader Joe's though. Yeah. So I love guacamole. Olives I'll get here and there. More just the brown olives. I don't ever really buy black olives. They're kind of cheap. Or they're just not very flavorful. I will get bananas, but not really as, the bananas are kind of, I could either get them or not. They don't really matter as much to me. But they're nice to have again in a pinch if you're a little hungry and racing out the door. Olive oil is what I tend to buy with oils. The first cold pressed extra virgin olive oil. I know that you want to be careful about how hot you get that stuff. So I tend to not, in general, I don't really cook things at too high of a temperature. Meats I will, but vegetables I always cook at a very low temperature. Curries are the one thing I'll use oils with, and that's, I probably should use avocado or coconut oil with making curries a bit more. But olive oil is my standby type oil. But again, I don't really do any high heat cooking very much. It's always lower heat. And with meats, I get a little higher. I get a little hotter with those. But okay, so anyway, that gives you a little bit idea more. Just to finish things off here, there's a bunch of different produce I eat, and it just varies all the time. I can tell you more about this stuff, but basically, I'm a pretty big apple guy. I eat my greens. I'm not as crazy about mushrooms. I like onions. I get those a fair amount, as well as dried seaweed. I usually get greens, like more dark greens as frozen veggies. Just it's too easy to forget about those greens in the back of your fridge. You don't quite always get to. I'll definitely get berries in the summer, cherries, definitely. Carrots, sometimes asparagus, again sometimes. I just remember not to. I prefer the frozen type of asparagus sometimes. I'll get green beans a lot. The oranges I'm very picky about these days. I always loved oranges growing up, but I've gotten really picky about oranges after having some really good quality oranges from Whole Foods and a few other places. But there's just a lot of flavorless oranges out there, and I think that's just a crime. You want good oranges. Nectarines are kind of the same deal, but I have a hard time sometimes. If they're going to be kept out of the fridge, they need to be back in that fridge within a few days tops. It's just nectarines are kind of something I might get more into again, and they're really great when they're just perfectly ripe. But it's a question of when their ideal ripeness. Grapes are also something where I'll definitely get them if they're Tom Cord or Concords are very delicate, so you can't find those very often. But Tom Cords and organic black grapes, they're really, really good to go. Yeah, I'll get those for sure. Reds a little bit, sure, but not so much greens, and always organic. Grapes tend to get some funny. I always try to wash those guys. Grapes can get some funny kind of stuff on them, so I try to make sure I keep them washed and fresh and stuff. Not so much cucumber, definitely not as much zucchini or squash. But trying to get those, it's kind of an off and on thing. I will try all kinds of vegetables and fruits. I really am open to all kinds of produce. I love produce. It's something I can try to get more of. But there's some, particularly vegetables. I don't eat honeydew or cantaloupe really. I'll eat watermelon on occasion, melons, but I don't really also buy tomatoes very often at all. Definitely not bell peppers, not turnips or beets, rutabaga, eggplant. Those kinds of vegetables I don't buy really. And Swiss chard on occasion, sure, and Brussels sprouts, sure, but these are less often. And with leeks, I have to remember if I want to use them, if I get them, I have to make a soup quick. Otherwise, they just go bad. And also watercress is pretty good. I'll use all kinds of spices and herbs. But I tend to use a lot of garlic, a lot of basil, thyme, marjoram, chive, savory. Also mace, yellow curry powder, turmeric, paprika, fennel, fenugreek, all these kinds of more curry types of things. Amchur. All kinds of stuff there, but not so much the bake. I don't bake, so I don't use baking spices. Mainly the only two condiments I really ever use are tartar sauce and barbecue sauce. Everything else, like maybe mustard a little bit, like the German mustards. Everything else I just don't really need. I also purify my water with pure water filters. I think those are between Brita and Pure. They're great. Or if you have a water, like if the only thing for your faucet, that's a good idea. But that just gives you an idea, a little bit of what I tend to, what what my groceries are like. But then of course there's the question of what my favorite foods are and all that stuff. That'll be in a different video, I think. Favorite restaurants, favorite other kinds of stuff like that. But all right, hopefully you found this to be interesting. I know this can either go one way or another. You either love this kind of stuff or you detest talking about this stuff. And I know everybody wants to talk about what is going well, what's not going so well. So, all right, I will look forward to hearing from you guys. Leave me your comments below. I will catch you all later. All right, take care. Bye.